No. So I'm going to. Okay, Mr. McLaughlin.
Yeah, okay, it looks like we've got we can start the specially called board meeting on March 27th, originating in the high school, but which many of us are attending via Zoom in order to practice social distancing. I think I see all trustees on here. I see Ms. Cantu, Ms. Hanson, Ms. Halsey, Ms. Viapando, Ms. Costilla, Ms. Arredondo, and myself. So we have all 7 present. So we did have a. You want to skip to we can say the pledge. Michael put it on a slide. So, all right. I guess we'll do this in unison from remotely. But I pledge allegiance to the flag.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic under God, with liberty and justice for all.
With liberty and justice for all.
All right.
Under the Texas flag, I
pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, God,
under God,
and
one indivisible. All right, we do have a couple of public comments. I had asked that on the agenda, since we couldn't accommodate people showing up at the high school, they would, Juan wrote it such that they could email me public comments. I did receive 2. Let me just pull them up here and I'll, bear with me. As of 5 o'clock. So first, and I'm just going to read these. It looks like they're limited to 3 minutes anyway. So first we had parent and community member Paige Biersdorfer, who said, first and foremost, I wanted to let you know that everyone's hard work in this uncharted territory is very much appreciated. I know the board, administration, and teachers are all doing the very best they can for our kids. I just wanted to share my thoughts about the current situation with schoolwork. I know we still need to educate our children, but I was completely overwhelmed by the amount of work and time expected of the middle school students next week. I know in our household, we are trying to manage the new normal daily life. I will do my best to meet the requirements. Education is important in our house, but I'm wondering if we are missing an opportunity for a little more grace in this situation for both parents and teachers. I can't imagine being a teacher with little ones of my own and still trying to teach the required curriculum. And as a parent, it seems so daunting, all the apps and websites and emails that were sent to us this week. I'm already overwhelmed with trying to manage working from home with my children being at home full time as well. I'm wanting to know that while we are doing our very best, that my children won't be punished grade-wise for work that for many reasons they may not be able to complete. Appreciate your time. I know this is difficult for all of us. And second, we had a comment from Kimberly Adams. This was just the prelude. Okay, I am hoping parents receive a more detailed message from the district prior to Monday so we have clear expectations about what's to come. With that said, I imagine even once we're up and running, some things may need to be tweaked along the way. Clear communication would be helpful throughout all of this. I know I've been in discussion with several teachers. None have really been able to answer specifics. I realize they probably don't have many answers at this time, but as we move forward, it would be pertinent to know how grading will happen and if quizzes and tests will be required. I'm also curious how the policy regarding absences might work. Should a family member get sick or gravely ill with the coronavirus, I can guarantee schoolwork will become a very distant concern for our family. I would hate for my kids' education to be jeopardized because of this illness. Whether it directly impacts family, extended family, or work that may become critical to staying afloat. With families working from home and some considered essential in our community, has the district considered implementing an asynchronous learning that can have teacher-facilitated instruction, but where students participate on their own schedule and timeline? I know there's a lot of scenarios to consider to make this move to online learning doable, and this seems to be the primary approach many universities and colleges as well as other districts are taking. I know for our family, with 2 parents trying to shift to working 100% from home full time, it isn't the easiest to make sure our kiddos are logging on at specific times or even waking up or eating at specific times to accommodate their middle school schedule or high school schedule, as I've heard from other parents. Although it'd be great if teachers could keep some kind of office hours where they could be accessible to students. And I do see a huge benefit, particularly in morale for our children, to see and interact online with their classmates. Possibly some online group class setting would be ideal, yet those who can't attend aren't penalized. These are merely my personal concerns. I know administration has been working diligently to roll this information out, and teacher, staff, and school board members, etc., have all stepped up. I do acknowledge the hard work that's taking place behind the scenes, so please understand this is not me being critical of those in charge. I know there's a lot of us who are overwhelmed with the situation and hope this may shed light on areas of concern. As always, we are proud to be Rattlers and continue to choose SMCISD. Those are the only two comments that I received by 5 o'clock or at all, so we can proceed to the next section, which is section 3, discussion, action, district plan affecting instruction operations, students, and staff due to coronavirus pandemic and matters related to. So this is a carryover item from the last agenda. Mr. Cardona has a presentation of PowerPoint that I believe everybody should be able to see on their screen. And then if you have questions, motions at the conclusion, you can use the chat feature so that I know who had the first request and can try to get you all in order. So Mr. Cardona?
Thank you, Mr. McLaughlin, and members of the board, and members of the community who are watching this. Just a little bit before we start, PC, go again, some of our instructional coaches who spent the day high school here hanging out, packets of more and more along with technology. So we wanted to most think about all the teachers, our child nutrition personnel who have spent the week on the front lines, taking care of our students as we try to mitigate this very uncertain time. Heard the comments, but understand that what we're trying to do as a district, I don't know if you can hear that feedback. What we're trying to do as a district is keep instructional continuity happening, but we're also allowing our principals to have flexibility to meet the needs. Sorry, I navigate this thing. I'm admitting people, and I'm trying to go back at the same time. So we're all learning together. So one of the questions that was asked was about our child nutrition. This is a report as of today, the number of breakfast and lunch. And we do want to give a shout out to Mike Boone and his team and all the administrators who covered all the sites. Just to put it in perspective, there's some other districts who had about 10% of their district as a site. And we had 6 sites for a district of 13 campuses. So I think we're doing, they are doing a great job. We still have some adjustments we're probably making that we're letting Mr. Boone work his plan and adjust as we need to. We also had today at the sites, besides technology and curriculum, we have school fuels, so they will be attending on Fridays to take care of families. And so I think that will adjust as we go. So as parents were going through the line, they would get their breakfast, their lunch in this case, they would get their technology, they would get their curriculum if they needed a hard pack, and then they would, if they were a school fuel parent, they would stop at that line, part of the line, and they would get their meals. Our administrators, our counselors, teachers, instructional coaches, Gear Up, Advanced Academics, Educational Technology, and Instructional Technology, and the hardware, we're all working this week. And so just to put it in perspective, we went from really ground zero on Monday trying to figure this out to issuing roughly about 1,100 devices to elementary school students today, along with the packets, along with the lunches that you saw. And so I think our team has done a phenomenal job making sure that they're safe and taking care of our parents. About 15 minutes ago, we ran a laptop out to a truck waiting for a new enrollee that was coming in the city. So the high school principal was giving them a laptop. So I heard some of the comments on Monday. I had a Zoom conference with what I thought was just our teachers. And it's the number 816 you can see on the screen was actually the number of staff members who were on the first superintendent meeting. We'll have another one on Monday at 11 o'clock. So we had basically 100% of our teachers. And our goal for week 1 was to contact every scholar. It was pre-K 5 went through their homeroom students. 6 through 8 contacted through their second period class, as did 9 through 12. And it was to gather some information, and part of that information you can see our staff members at Hernandez who were passing out laptops today. That was part of the information we were trying to gather. So what did the communication look like? This is just since March 16th. So in the last 7 days, we have reached 7,752 of our students. We're trying to reach the other 400 or 300 plus, but 7,752 out of 8,100, I think, is an amazing number that we reached. And you can see by day, starting on Monday the 23rd, we had 1,400 emails go out, 15,000 text messages, 5,900 calls. And again, this is using School Status, which is a platform that we started earlier this year. This does not include Blackboard messaging system, which is what Mr. Fernandez uses, or Facebook or Twitter. Doesn't include any of that information. It doesn't also include, we use Remind as a method to communicate. We're trying to get that information. So that's just in the past 7 days. Just a little bit, hopefully this works. So somebody mentioned at-home instruction. So here's our at-home learning portal. And you can see that we are central administration, instructional coaches, principals, all worked diligently to, is this showing up on the, Mr. McLaughlin, can you see that on your screen?
Yes, I can see the instruction slide with at-home instruction, kudos. Yes, sir.
So you can see pre-Ks at the top, then you have kindergarten, first grade, second grade, in English and Spanish. You have middle school, and then you go all the way down for high school lessons. And this is adapting as we're going. So this is just the beginning. This is what we as central office and the instructional coaches and the principals were trying to develop. I have it on. This is what we put together for the first 10 days so that we could give our teachers time to learn new technologies. We want to give a little shout out to, so this is Texas Education's part of their coronavirus as they're building their model.
Mr. Superintendent, I'm sorry if I could interrupt. I think when you're clicking on those links, at least I'm still seeing the slide that has the link rather than the page that you're clicking on.
See anything?
Now we're showing it. Oh,
So you don't see the TEA website?
No, I just see the URL under kudos, but when you made it darker by clicking on it, it didn't take me there. And that's the same thing that happened about at-home instruction. When you asked me if I could see it, I wasn't sure what you were asking I could see. But so while you look at that, can we just briefly, especially when I know there's going to be comments and questions, could each trustee just one at a time, starting? I guess I'll call on you, and then you just say present so that I can make sure that there were some concerns about Ms. Cantu's mic and some other stuff. So Ms. Halsey, are you here?
I am.
All right, I hear you fine. Ms. Costilla?
Yes.
Okay, Ms. Villapando?
Here.
Okay, Ms. Hanson?
Yes.
Okay, Ms. Cantu?
Yes.
Okay, and Mr. Arredondo? Here. All right, excellent. Thank y'all. Okay, back to you, Superintendent, sorry.
All right. Well, I was trying to demonstrate, so the kudos, that's TEA's website, and that is actually San Marcos CISD's remote learning plan. You can't see it, but I'll try when we're finished to put that up on the chat section so people could download it. But TEA has reached out to several school districts across the state to use our information. So our remote learning plan that was given to all our teachers on Monday the 23rd that demonstrates kind of what each department is supposed to be doing is being used by a lot by other districts across the state. And then the last link is just a link for COVID-19. So we put the latest information up on the website. So that's the link. On the right, you see kind of our brochure that we gave to our teachers on that March 23rd meeting. They 16 people that what SMCISD faculty and staff will do, what our families can do, what week 2 looks like, what week 3 looks like. And then we were asking questions about specific departments. And I won't go over every single line item. Career technology is an ever-changing department. On the bottom, we're still waiting on complete guidance from TA. TA on the academic side, curriculum side, is more ahead, special education department. 504, there's a lot more information that is up to date, but these are some of the things that we are doing. Mr. Doyle is working with the teachers to make sure that students who are practicums that now can do that, can earn their hours, variety of means. The governor and the commissioner have given us a lot of leeway trying to help our students. They're currently developing some video tutoring sites to get them ready for their industry-based certification test, which is a possibility. And as soon as we know that our students know, they're setting up their Zoom classrooms right now. Special education, our upgrade, our IEP, ACL, our medically fragile students. We've been working with our attorney, who and Ms. Mariano and the special education team, Dr. Reeves Mills, to set up individual ARD meetings with each parent to change the individual continuity plan so that we can service each kid, each student as they need assistance. And see their resource, ACL, FBC, and focus teachers are contacting students twice a week, in addition to the other types of communication, texting and emailing. And then they're developing Google Classrooms to address questions, provide teaching assistance to the staff members to modify lessons and activities, and to show how we are supporting our students that have individual IEPs. And then the general and special education teachers have already started meeting to collaborate and address students that have certain needs. And again, special education continues. It's going down through speech therapy and related service focus. They are developing social skill lessons. Behavior specialists are working with families to create visuals, task strips, and other forms that parents can use at home. Behavior specialists will also be offering support to the student, teachers, and families to address, some of the trauma that kids are getting by not being in school, and support our families. And our Crossroad teachers are working to develop Google Classroom sites for parents and adult students that include how-tos, scheduling and routines, lessons for the days, video modeling of functional and behavioral skills. And again, our ARD meetings will continue to be held via Zoom, Google Meetings, and/or telephone. Attendance in McKinney-Vento, Ms. Woody has been meeting with the parent liaisons to work with our homeless students and each of our campuses that have some students that have some attendance issues, but the 90% rule waiver applies only for second semester, so they're working on a plan to get credit back for students who did not meet attendance for semester 1. And part of that is to open up Edgenuity and allow them to work on some instruction since they have devices. A question was asked about daycare, day camp facilities, and we have been in contact with Jessica Ramos through the city and some others. Old Ray works with the various departments through the city and the county. And currently, they don't need any assistance. They have, on average, I think they had 16 sign up for first responders to go to the Student Activity Center, but they've been averaging about 2, 3, 4 kids, and they go over to Travis to pick up breakfast and lunch for those students and then take it back to the activity center. But we will continue those conversations as this situation continues to evolve, COVID-19. And then a question was asked about counseling. So all our counselors have been working to provide hours of support, right, for each student and family, reaching out to our students and family, and they're creating their Google Classrooms and or Canvas classrooms. Our parent liaisons, we call it Rattler Parent Check-In. Our parent liaisons are checking in with parents as well and doing Google meetings. They are beginning to start the process next week of one counseling lesson a week. 15 minutes, you pick the topic. There's a digital version, there's a paper version, and that will begin on March 30th. Our SEL counselors are creating how-tos for both teachers, caregivers, students, and administrators. They're also working on some mindfulness videos for students, parents, and community members. They're starting to work on virtual yoga for teachers and staff once a week for 15 minutes. And they are creating a teacher support group, 1 hour for teachers to find and support ideas on how to work well from home. Our middle school counselors, the question was asked about middle school and course selection. Currently, middle school counselors are about 95% complete with course selection. So course verification will begin April 10th via home access, and changes will be made submitted using a Google form. They'll run grade reports determining 8th graders in danger of failing the high school credit or Algebra 1 or any other high school course. And then they're going to work with the administrators to determine a plan, and I work with the parents once the students are identified. They're also running attendance reports to determine if students are in danger of losing credit for high school courses, and again, work with the administrators to determine a plan. And then after course registration is completed, 4-year plans will be completed, and we hope to get those out to the families after that. High school counselors are about 80% completed, and they're utilizing tools like Google Hangout and School Status. So School Status, we upgraded to the Premier version so that staff members are able to send handouts to parents so that they can see and then give us feedback. They're using the course verification that began April 10th via home access, and then changes again can be submitted using Google Form. Master scheduling for next year will begin April 11th based on course selection tallies. The one thing I want to point out about the high school and the work they're doing right now, it's unfortunate we're in a situation that we're in right now, but this year every student basically applies to be an individual graduation committee candidate. And why is that important? Typically it says seniors, and we know that there's seniors who lack credit or may lack EOC courses. And a couple of years ago, a couple of senators passed a bill that allowed us to use individual graduation committees to determine if they demonstrated mastery in other ways for some of our special education students and some of our other students that just were having issues. The reason why I'm focusing in on this one is we have sophomores and juniors who may still lack that high school credit course. That's the one they see that they can't get past, or 1 or 2. And so this will allow us this year to work with them and their families and build out a demonstration of mastery in a different way. I think that's a good thing for those kids, because before now they had been stuck in a system, and now we can think out of the box and see if we can find a way to meet more of our kids' needs. Now they will graduate on the foundation plan, but they were already our students who were struggling. And then counselors are determining seniors in need of attendance recovery, credit recovery, CDE certification completion. And again, we're still waiting on some guidance from TEA. And then counselors are working with the special education department and the students in 504 to make sure that courses and everything are correct and they're on track. And then counselors are going to share information for the parent rattler zone. And then at some point we will get a spreadsheet so that campus principals and directors can get together and do another look, another audit, so to speak, to make sure we're not missing anybody. And for the younger students in 9th and 10th, we'll make sure that their 4-year plans are adjusted and adapted. The College and Career Center, which is Grace and Ashley, are working together to create weekly and bi-weekly videos with messages regarding college updates. They're contacting all local scholarship donors, and they're working to make sure kids go through Advise Texas, World Talent Search, the Career College Center, and work to get them also completed Apply Texas, the SAT, ACT, help them with their transcripts, and we'll use, again, Google Hangouts and School Status. Our dual language and bilingual updates, pardon me one second as I admit some more people and get back. Dual language and bilingual update. Again, we've started translating as many lessons as we can into Spanish and pushing out some videos and some resources for our parents. Lessons at the secondary level are adjusted to reflect the linguistic accommodations to help our English language learners. Our dual language and ESL coaches are working collaboratively with the content area coaches to provide support required to adjust lessons and to include any required differentiation. And then bilingual department staff will periodically attend live content area lessons so we can help students out as they're working and help the teachers. Our bilingual department is hosting a weekly Zoom meeting with all the staff to remain aware of matters and how we can adjust to help our students and our parents. Dreambox is a math program that utilizes adaptive technologies available to all our dual language and bilingual students in grades K through 5, that they're able to continue spiraling math standards. And on a side note, we are also getting ready to roll out our staff next week as soon as we get the licenses Lexia, which is a reading component that Lexia is provided for all K-8 students. It's adaptable, that we won't be able to push out for the remainder of the year. Teachers don't have their licenses yet because we're uploading student records right now. Technology is working to get those records uploaded so that parents won't have to, it'll be on the laptops and they can access it through our home learning portal. And then report cards, Mr. Fernandez will push out a message here to parents that report card grades are now posted on the Home Access Center. Parents can view these grades by logging into the Home Access Center. Marina Salinas will be handling emails and phone calls from parents who don't have a Home Access account and want one, and she's also fluent in Spanish. And then we will be mailing the report cards starting Wednesday the 1st and have them mailed by no later than April 3rd. To the parents who don't have Home Access, we will be mailing those. And then last but not least, we got guidance regarding handling paper, and you can read that. We are adjusting daily to the plan. And Mr. President, that's about it. I will say before you start that, we started on Monday with our teachers. There was a lot of uncertainty around scheduling those teaching and learning, and you heard that in the comments made by public comment. But the principals are meeting with their teachers and they're developing a plan with each of their campuses. And like, for example, I'll use the high school because that's been mentioned, before. So like the science department, I think biology, maybe biology's not it, but I'll say biology. No one will know anything right now. They are planning on team teaching. So a teacher is taking 1 hour for the 3 times a week, so it's not pressure on every teacher to do everything. All of our teams are adjusting. Our middle school ELA teachers are doing collaborative planning together using Zoom, so they're in alignment. You know, and I know it's a very uncomfortable time for people, but we're trying to keep things instructionally consistent as possible and keep kids in a routine. You know, when we give guidance around 8 to 4, the guidance is really to protect teachers. We don't want teachers answering emails at 10:30 at night, 12 o'clock at night. You know, it's 8 to 4. That's what most of us are used to. And so, like, for example, I got an email walking in here from my daughter's science teacher, and it listed what days they were doing live lessons, when the tutoring sessions were, and when they can schedule appointments, which for me makes it easy to get in Zoom and then do a calendar and schedule something with them. And so it's adapting. So we ask that people be patient, because next week's plan is going to look different than this week's plan. But our teachers are actually driving the change with their administrators to make sure that we take care of our kids and take care of all their needs. And with that, that's my superintendent report.
Okay, thank you. I'm sure there's some questions. Maybe I'll just go around the room, and that way everyone can get heard without having to shout over each other. Ms. Halsey?
Yes, thank you so much. I really I appreciate all the work that's gone into this week, and I know that everybody's doing the best they can, and I appreciate that. I have a couple of different questions. One, can you talk, Mr. Superintendent, about how we're delivering preschool classes? Because I didn't see that covered in the presentation. And also about, are we counting students' absences? And how do we anticipate grades working during the next period? As a parent, I also, you know, while I appreciate everything that the teachers are doing, it is a little overwhelming to sit and get, you know, email after email after email and try to figure out how this is gonna work for the kids, right? So that we aren't stressing everybody out needlessly. Can you sort of walk us through what the expectations are for kids next week?
So I'm not looking away from them, looking at her material, so she's kind of trying to do herself, so she can kind of walk. Can you hear me?
No.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, now we can.
No.
Yeah, they can hear you.
Okay. Preschool is on the website that Mr. Cardona was trying to show us earlier. Ms. Dre can speak to that, but we do have activities for our preschool students on the website. Next week, or this upcoming week, week 2, which will start on March the 30th, will look just like what we rolled out yesterday and the packets that we gave out today. The teachers K through 12 have those lessons, and they're going to begin just reviewing those lessons. We're not taking grades yet. This is still a transition period. It also allows time and grace for our teachers to prepare for week 3, which will start on April 5th. On April 5th, teachers will roll out lessons. Again, you heard Mr. Cardona speak about teachers having live lesson times. And so we'll go ahead and the teachers will roll that out across the board. But again, the grades are going to be either 1 grade a week or 2 grades every 10 days with a focus not so much on assessment, but demonstration of new learning through personalized learning, through project-based learning, and through activities as we start becoming familiar with this process. We are still waiting on guidance. TEA is going to be releasing some grading guidelines as well, but we are working through that. The question regarding attendance, as mentioned earlier, TEA is allowing for this semester where the attendance is not going to count for second semester. But we are asking teachers to continue checking in with students to get a hold of them if they've noticed that a student hasn't submitted via Canvas or Google Classroom a lesson, or they haven't received an email from the student using those platforms, to contact them. Not so much to keep track of attendance, but just to make certain that students are still engaged in the learning. The same thing goes with the hard packets. We're not taking grades on those, but starting week 3, we'll have a system in place where we send the packets to the students that may not have the technology or were unable to come and get it, and then we'll have a return process. Right now we're looking at placing bins outside of each campus where we can turn those packets back in. So that's what it's going to look like, but it's going to continually evolve as we go through this process.
That's great. So can I just say it back so that I make sure that I understand, and tell me if I've got it clearly? So next week with my kids, I should expect, that they all have already received information from their teachers, and they have specific links to various class resources. And so next week, it's not that my children are expected to be in their seats from 8 a.m. until 4 p.m. working on tasks and meeting live, having live class sessions, but they're getting assignments and they're getting review projects, and they can sort of go through them at their own speed, and their teachers who are available but not 24/7 for supporting them if they need additional help. And then once we sort of rolled into this over the course of the next few weeks, then they'll have maybe a time period where they're supposed to meet with their second period class all together online. Is that right?
Yes. That's how it's supposed to be working. Now, we did have some people ask for a more structured schedule, because for some students that would work better, but the teacher may not necessarily be in front of the computer. Those lessons will be housed in either Canvas or Google Classroom, where they can click on it and they can do it at their own pace. There will be times when the instructor may state, go ahead and try to be available. I'm just going to say between 10 and 11, because I'm going to do a lesson, and I would like to just touch base with you.
That's great. And I hope that teachers are sort of taking a triage approach to this. So now that we've reached out to students and figured out, what needs are, and determining, if there are students that really need a lot more support, that those students are getting the support first before students who, they're okay, they've got the resources at home to take care of this difficult time. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Ms. Cantu.
The questions I had asked were pretty much answered in the presentation, because I had asked about the career technology and how they were going to complete their actual hands-on hours. And the other question I had asked was on scholarships, and they sound like they're working on it. The reason I had asked was because those scholarships will eventually have to be awarded, and we can't foresee how that's going to happen at this point, whether we'll be having a virtual scholarship assembly or what. But I know that some students were worried about their scholarship and the application process. I understand that the deadlines have been moved and that they're turning them in online. So those were my questions. The other question was one that Ms. Halsey touched on, was attendance. How the teachers were reporting attendance for the students for this week.
Okay, but you got satisfactory answers to all that?
I got answers to all that. I'm not real clear on is when you talk about the submission of attendance, if attendance is counted against them for the semester, what is the actual process that the teachers are using to submit attendance?
There is no process. We're just attendance is really a check-in. Basically, from the time that we close down, we'll submit waivers for every day to the state of Texas that we're closed. So we really don't have attendance. The attendance is them checking in. There's no grade book or there's no, TEA is very clear about not taking attendance. When we say attendance, we mean like checking in.
Okay, so then that would make it easier for students that would have been at risk for losing credit, so that the students would have a better opportunity to maintain credit for this semester, right?
If a kid lost credit before spring break,
They've
lost credit, and so that's where the counselors are working with the attendants to figure out a plan to get them. First semester, second semester, we had 9 weeks of school. So it is conceivable that there are kids who did lose credit for the weeks, and they're working a plan on that. But the credit recovery will be based only on that 9 weeks. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. So those people that had lost credit by the time that spring break came, will they have an opportunity to make up the credit in summertime if we're able to get back to a group?
Well, we're trying to make it up during this time.
The time has passed. The time has passed to receive credit from the first semester based on attendance. So this second semester, they won't lose credit based on attendance, but because they still lacked the first semester, then your question is correct. They can go to summer school if need be, so they can get the appropriate average to gain credit and pass the class.
Very good. Thank you. That's it.
Okay, we're gonna go to Mr. Arredondo.
Thank you. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Mr. Superintendent, if you can go back to the slide, since we weren't provided copies of how the district has been communicating with families and the data connected to those communications. Okay, thank you. So, will you explain to me when we say that these emails or text messages or calls have been sent, when we say that we contact with families, what does that mean? That we know that the email was, we know that the text was, we like voicemail on a call. What are we saying when we say that we contacted these families and that these numbers are?
So, can you hear me?
Yes.
So, for example, I'm looking down at my phone because I used full status to contact my mentee this week. So when I send him when I send his mother a text message, it tells me, first it tells the mother, this message is from Michael Cardona at San Marcos CISD, messages via school status using standard text messages for your mobile plan, respond with a stop to block the thing. So I send the message and the mom responds. If the phone doesn't work, I get on my message for school status that the phone is not taking text messages. So, what I can tell you is that the emails went through. I don't know if they're being read. The texts are texts to parents, the guardian 1, guardian 2, and the calls are, calls to parents. So I have access to, by teacher, I know one teacher from one of the elementary shout to them, and I know she called, they teach, so she has 43 fifth graders. She called all 43 of her kids on her roll. I could see that she called them. And then she also this week sent 537 text messages to her caseload. So I can see that she's communicating, and that may be a combination of them responding back, but that's, you know what I mean? That makes sense?
Yes, it does. I guess that illustrates my concern. So if we say a teacher called all 43 of their students, okay, a call was made. I don't know, based on this data, does that mean that a parent or a guardian responded and said, hey, my child is here, ready for school next week? I guess when we are presented with information that says 7,752 are contacted or interacted with one of these three platforms, my follow-up question to that is, did we hear back from that student or guardian to know that, present, they're in the community, they're ready to learn next week? I guess that's kind of where my line of questioning is going. I understand that a teacher might have called all 43 of their students, but that doesn't tell me if all 43 of their students have responded to that teacher's outreach.
Yeah, it pretty much does, because they're keeping a log on a spreadsheet of the conversations they're having. And so those calls were 4 questions that the teachers were charged with asking parents. Number 1 was, did they have technology? Number 2 was, did they have internet access? Number 3 was, do you have school supplies, materials? Number 4 is, do you need help with food? And so each campus had a Google document on top of this where they were logging, and that doesn't even include the parent liaisons and the administrators. So this is actual 7,752 is actual students reached and responded to. And like I said, we gave out 1,100 laptop devices to elementary school students today, so they did get the message. They did come. We saw a spike in food distribution today because we're making the assumption that we handed out the packets and the technology that helped get some out. But it's actual communication.
So just as a clarifying, so the 7,752 number means that we have heard back and those families have responded, and that represents 7,752 students that we know of where they are, whether or not they need spot, Wi-Fi, or a technological device. 7,752.
Correct.
Okay. My follow-up question to that is, in these communications, whether it's emails, text messages, phone calls, we have a significant population of English language learners. What support are we giving the individual teachers to communicate with those whose parents only speak language, being Spanish or Arabic or whatever that is? What support do teachers have as of today to facilitate those interactions?
So after the teachers identified the kids, Mr. Fernandez followed up with the communication on his system. And so when he sends out his messaging, so if we knew, for example, that a parent needed technology or food or whatever, then he for technology sent a message to them on Blackboard, and Blackboard's tied into the student information system, so it will send a message to them in their native language. And school status also sends the message in their native language. That's why you see text more so because if a teacher doesn't speak Spanish, they can text in English and the parent gets it in Spanish.
Okay, so I've seen the translations, if you will, and anecdotally what I've seen is that they don't translate directly into Spanish correctly. It's kind of like typing into Google Translate. Spanish isn't a translation. I guess that's what my concern is that are these communications peers and families language being effective? And again, I guess my concern is that we're relying heavily on technology to do a lot of things, and the population that we serve at risk, very familiar with technology as is. And so again, I'm just kind of trying to get clarification. If I'm a second grade teacher, buoy, and my family predominantly Spanish, and I need to communicate with them this upcoming Tuesday, the lesson is going to be this, what support are we giving that second grade teacher at Bowie to translate the text message communication and asking the platforms to do it for them?
Well, I think it would be what happens before we have this issue, and that's that teacher would go to somebody who does speak Spanish, typically the parent liaison there at Bowie, and they would make a call to the parent together.
Okay, I guess that being said, I would be interested in, I'm going to be asking questions over the next days and weeks to see what type of resources, employee-wise, that are being allocated to that, because obviously this is unknown territory for all of us, and I'm assuming there's going to be a lot of questions, and I can only imagine how overwhelmed some of our teachers are, because a lot of this, logging into Google Classroom, creating an account, working with your child, things that is difficult for people who speak English explaining it to each other online. And so I just want to make sure that our faculty and staff have the resources that they need. I'm assuming there's going to be a lot of back and forth communication between parents and teachers over the next several days and weeks.
Thank you, Mr. Abando. I think we're going to Ms. Hanson next. Do you have any questions, Ms. Hanson?
No questions. I'm just thrilled and really amazed at all the work that's gone into this, and I think our families and parents, students, teachers, everybody has done a lot of hard work, and just keep on. That's all my comment.
Okay, Ms. Villalpando.
I'm like Kathy, I don't have any specific questions. But I am wondering, and I guess we'll hear about this later, and given the attendance and the severity of the situation and what we're having to go through, I wonder what PEA will tell us about our money, how the school will get money on our ADA. What impact this whole situation is going to be. And that's not a question for now. I would like to hear about all this and later. But I do want to thank the staff and just say how much I appreciate them. That's all.
Thank you, Ms. Villalpando. And Ms. Costilla.
Well, it's not so much of a question as it is maybe something for future discussion. First of all, I really want to express my sincere appreciation to the administration, Mr. Cardona, for providing the leadership as to where we are, given this uncertain times with everything that's taken place. This is a first for many of us. And it's going to be a learning by the process, and I appreciate there are going to be some things that we don't know have the answers to, and we will lean on you to provide the answers for that as they come up, if it's something that we feel we need to really address. But I really appreciate all the work that's been addressed and provided under the present circumstances. The only thing that I was going to add to what we were talking about regarding, and I guess it has to do with the academic portions all around, but the ranking and how is that going to be determined? I guess at some point in time we'll find out, given the fact that grades are not being counted, but our senior population, I appreciate the fact that counselors are working with seniors to make sure we're identifying the seniors that need to recoup some of the credits in order to graduate, but I'm pretty sure that this is going to be a question about the rank system, how it's going to be. A lot of colleges, but then of course the whole United States is under the circumstance right now. A lot of them determine scholarships based on the ranking. So that's a question not so much for now, but maybe for the future. Maybe this is something that can be looked into and given some guidance as to information as to how this is going to be impacted. Again, thank you very much to the administration.
You're welcome. I believe Dr. Reese-Mills has some information.
Yes, so our class rank was finalized on March 13th.
Okay.
Before we went on spring break, it's finalized at the end of the third 9 weeks, so that's already been locked.
Okay.
For our students who still need credit that are seniors, they'll have an opportunity they had an opportunity to make those credits up during credit recovery, which ended, as you recall, back in February. And then they also have the second semester to ensure that they pass the entire year by scoring a high enough average in those classes. But Ms. Presley and her team are still working with students to make certain that their graduation is not affected. Any senior right now who currently is sitting in a course that required an end of course exam, if they earn credit for that class, they will not have to do the IGC, but if they're a senior who was having to retest, then they will go through the IGC process in order to graduate. So that is what we're working on starting for week 2 and week 3.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rees.
All right,
I think Ms. Halsey and
Mr.
Mr.
Erdogan
Erdo have follow-up questions. Halsey, you first.
Yes, thanks. I have three questions. So the first one is, do we have a technology hotline that we will be able to provide to families next week? The second one is, have we figured out a way that we can compensate long-term subs? And especially subs that were under contract for this week and next week, will we be able to honor those contracts and pay them? And my third question is, I know that we've tweaked and are being really flexible with the meal provision program, and I think that's wonderful. And I was wondering if we were able to develop any plans for doing meal deliveries. I know that we've adjusted the timetables, and that next week people will be able to pick up breakfast and lunch at the same time, which is great. And that a child will no longer be required to be in the car. But are we going to be able to do deliveries along bus routes?
So the answer to the first question is yes, the parents and teachers have a technology hotline that we are setting up. The parents have a specific hotline number they can call in.
There's a number that is posted on the packet
Yeah.
given out, and if it's not posted on the COVID-19 site, it will be special. It's
So-
a special number for students.
So
It would be
it's
great
going to
if we
be
could
posted
email
on the
that.
COVID-19 site. Mr. Fernandez, I'm sure, will be sending it out in his messaging.
Great.
It was also on the packet information that went out to those parents that had a hard copy packet. The second question, substitutes don't have contracts, and so there is no thought. There's 10, I think your question, there's 10 substitutes who work 75 or more days. 5 of the 10 are retired teachers, and 1 is currently getting certified out of that 10 and is getting hired with us. Yeah, so at least 4. And then breakfast and lunch, I'm sorry you were breaking up, so I think what I heard was, are we going to combine breakfast and lunch? Yes. 10 to 12:30. They just need to come one time. They can get both breakfast and lunch together, and the children do not need to be in the car. We got guidance from the U.S. Department of Agriculture 2 days ago that waived that requirement of them having to be in the car.
Great. That actually, so just to follow up on that. So the 4 long-term subs that have worked for 75 days or more and are not retired teachers, we can't compensate them in any way?
I don't know how we would pay them for doing nothing. I don't think that's legal, honestly.
If we had them, if they believed that they were going to be working this week and next week, can we not compensate them for that?
So we're kind of lagging. So you want to talk to that, Mr. Varn? The short-term answer is I don't know what we would bring them in to. We're trying to keep people out of the building right now, and especially with the fact that we have community spread here. I don't know that we would want to bring them to.
I understand that, but I'm saying if we've already arranged with a substitute to be teaching instead of somebody who may have been on maternity leave or something, right? Can we not pay that person for the services that we've already arranged with them?
Not currently. If somebody's on leave, then there's somebody covering them.
Right, the substitute.
You broke up.
It would be a substitute that was covering that person.
Can you just send me the email of the specific person you're talking about so that?
Well, you just said there's at least 4. I will send you an email and follow up on it. But the other question I had is about meal delivery. Can we deliver meals along the bus routes?
We are exploring options, but that currently is an option that we would send Suburbans out, but we're reaching out to specific sites, Martindale being one of them, to see if maybe they will let us have somebody where we can go drop meals off, but we are not putting people on the bus route, no.
Thanks.
Hey, Mr. Arredondo,
you have follow-up questions?
Yeah, so thank you, Mr. Superintendent and ISD staff. I hope it is a no-brainer that and I'm assuming my colleagues are blown away by the work all of done over the week and a half circumstances that we all find ourselves in. Going back to the slide, if you can go back to communications with ISD students, I think 7,700 and change. So based on our conversations earlier, Mr. Superintendent, you said that number denotes exchanges with families. So teachers have made 7,752 contact students, and we've asked several questions. And because number represents conversations that have taken place after we've asked these specific questions. So with these contacts taking place, how many students have self-identified as needing meals, technology, or Wi-Fi hotspots out of these 7,752 students if our teachers have had interaction with them?
So 1,100 laptops, so that was 1,100 students who identified through these calls as elementary schools students who needing laptops, but that doesn't include the high school because they also issued laptops today, as did in the middle schools. And then the parent liaisons identified 50, I need to go look, it's 52 families, 123 students who potentially could need support with food that we're looking at. Does that make sense?
Yes, kind of, sort of. Obviously not seeing those numbers. So today, I'll mention earlier in the meeting that X number of pieces of technology had been distributed. What was that number that's been distributed so far?
Laptops, 1,100? Up to 11.
There was around 1,100 students with a need.
There was 1,100, can you hear me? 1,100 students that identified a need with a laptop.
And how many were, you said number that was distributed today?
725 needed internet access. So we're waiting on 581 hotspots. So laptops, one was laptops, one was Wi-Fi access.
Okay, so again, you said 1,100 students have identified a device. How many have been distributed up to today? How many devices?
We don't know. I think that, the librarians are checking them out through their library system, so I don't have access to their library checkout system. Yeah, we'll send that to you.
So the 1,100
who have self-identified a piece of technology. I've asked how many have gotten that piece of technology. As of right now, it's a question mark because we don't know. Correct?
Yes, we distributed today.
Okay. I just want to make sure going in weekend before instruction is technically supposed to start on Monday. We don't know how many kids still need to going in first week of instruction.
So those kids also got a hard packet also. They got a laptop and they got a hard packet of work.
Yes, I understand. I know obviously the district has put a robust menu for sources to supplement face-to-face teachers. And we're talking about teachers being there to support students and that's great. If they don't have a technological device, all of that is for not for the population is what I'm trying to understand. They might have got a hard copy packet sorts, but that doesn't afford them the opportunity to interact with the teacher. So obviously by Monday, instruction starts, I can get an answer. How many students have out of that 1,100 have been given a technical device, and how many are pending, and what the plan is to get them the logical devices as soon as possible. My second question is along the lines of trust policy. I understand that you're exploring several options in regards to meal distribution, bus routes. I provided Mr. Boone and the group chat so everyone who's on this call can see it. A list of several additional sites throughout our community that are neighborhoods and easily accessible in regards to walking and being in compliance with all of these social distancing guidelines from the CDC. One of them is Our Lady of Guadalupe Chapel, Roosevelt Street, Sinai Pentecostal Church, on Laredo Street, Sienna Apartments on the road, Morningwood, Mobile Home Park, Riverview Apartments, and the last Guadalupe Meat Market, Redwood. So all of those sites that I listed have historically been Mr. Boone and the Child Nutrition Department's mobile meal summer meal program. So that's why I listed them. The only one that has never been served by the ISD based on our mobile meal program was the Guadalupe Meat Market in Redwood. I understand that we are serving that community their church facility out in that area, but it's been brought to my attention that given just the environment that's out there are loose dogs and things of that nature, so it's not conducive for families to walk to the singular site in that community. So the administration's insider perspective of opening additional meal distribution sites this time. We're not committed to plan to deliver meals along ISD bus routes.
Okay. Well, he said he put in his chat that he's asking for Mr. Boone. Correct, Mr. Cardona?
Mr. Boone, what needs to take place of additional meal distributions? Action by board.
And I had a conversation with Mr. Cardona this morning, and I expressed my frustration with the whole situation. I wrote down some words. Stressed, burnt out, struggle, exhausted, frustrated, overwhelmed. I go home with a headache every night. We want to feed every kid we can, but I am not in the position to send my employees out into this war zone. We're stretched to the max. We have all the managers, just the meals we're doing now. I've had to call in 2 hourly employees, which I said I would not do. I don't know why. It seems like we're very frustrated. We feel child nutrition feels like we're disposable. That Houston ISD shut all their sites because the child nutrition employees got sick. Memphis did the same thing. Louisiana, it will come here. It's going to affect somebody in our kitchen or myself. I do not propose or want to open any more sites to put my employees out on the front line and they get sick and die. I do not want that on my conscience, and I will not call my employees in. If you have a problem with that, you can terminate me or I'll resign. But it is not fair that child nutrition, I've talked to other directors, Northside, Marble Falls, South Stand, and everybody's in the same situation that we're all scared to death and we're sending our friends out to get shot in the field. I mean, we have 6 sites open, which is over 50% of how many schools we have. Other districts have 10 to 12%. I mean, we're trying to hit every kid we can. We want every kid to eat that we want to. But putting more people out, it's defeating the purpose. This thing's going to get worse, and somebody's going to get sick in our kitchens. And I don't want that on my conscience. And I have pre-existing conditions. I can take it high school loan to other people. And if it hit all 3 of us, one of us could die. I do not want that on my conscience. I mean, we're having problems with getting food. Thankfully, you know, I had a lot of food come in before time. Labatt has 0 individually wrapped food. They have no paper bags. I had to send Mr. Cardona to Sam's to buy every paper bag they had. I see within 3 to 4 weeks, there will not be food from Labatt. That every school district is pushing, and they cannot, Smuckers cannot turn around and produce millions and millions and millions of Uncrustable sandwiches in a short period of time. Thank God I brought in 10,000 before this happened. And we're using every bit of stock that we have from the regular school year. If we start school again soon, we won't have food to start the school again. So I mean, opening new sites, yeah, I'd love it, but to put my people out there, I'm not doing it. So I mean, you can terminate me. I'll resign, but I'm not putting my people out there. Bottom line.
Mr. Boone, I appreciate your candor and honesty. And now, because of the things that you said on a public meeting, I feel like to respond. It was never my intent to put employees at risk. At our last meeting, I asked our director, our assistant superintendent of human resources, if we needed to enact some motion of the board to prevent people with pre-existing condition coming in, and I was told no, they were not going to be allowed to come in with pre-existing conditions, and they would not expose themselves. So I apologize that circumstances has exposed you, your employees, because I was told that you weren't going to be allowed to at a pre-existing condition. Secondly, I apologize. Comments made by others have communicated that you are in way, shape, or form disposable, or that I do not have concerns about the health and well-being of your staff. In all honesty, I would be comfortable the entire department unpaid leave and add alternative means and modes to provide meals to ISD families for foreseeable future given health crisis. I agree, and I support that your commitment to health and well-being of all ISD staff, especially your child nutrition department. If it is going to be an ongoing challenge, you have my unwavering support to do whatever you need to do to keep your staff safe. If that's the case, then I would hope that the administration, under your leadership, would find alternative means to feed our ISD families. Looks like we will not be able to do all because of a lack of resources, obviously beyond your control. Again, time and time again, that sites are not conducive or readily available to families if they don't have reliable transportation. I understand that there is nothing you can do about that without exposing your employees to potential health risks. And that's not what I want or what my intent of these questions are. Obviously, we're all trying to figure this out together. And I guess my biggest concern is what needs to keep 100% of your employees safe and to feed as possible. And as an individual trustee, I'm ready, willing, and able to allocate resources as needed to do. I don't think those two things are exclusive of one another. I think we can do whether or not this district and is committed to finding alternative that keep our employees safe, but our students are fed.
Yeah, I think with, six sites, and nothing's perfect. And I told Doug today, just because another district is doing something doesn't make it right. Houston found that out in a very bad way where they were taking meals out and sites and congregating people. Now they got their employees sick. It's happening in Memphis, it's happening in Louisiana, and it's going to happen in Texas. Another thing I'm going to put out there, because you guys know that I'm honest, I speak my mind, is this program is for underprivileged kids, mostly. We have a lot of, and I hate to put this out there, teachers, secretaries, counselors, people from the city that don't need these meals. They're coming to our sites. And it takes the meals from down the road when possibly, most likely we're going to run out. I told Mr. Cardona I see Lexuses and $50,000 SUVs pull up, and they're going to take a meal that they really don't need. And I heard one person say, we were bored, we wanted to get out of the house, we came to get a free meal. And then we also today at Redwood, I had a person, I had to take some extra meals, we were slammed out there, and had a car pull up, and with the new regulation, it was a 25-year-old young man, and he said, I need 10. Didn't have a kid in the car. And I go, you need 10? He goes, yeah, for my kids. And maybe he was perfectly honest, maybe he wasn't. But the people that really don't need the meal shouldn't be coming to get the meal, because down the road, that means I don't have a meal to serve the kids that really need the meal.
Thanks, Mr. Boone. Appreciate all your hard work. Mr. Arredondo, do you have further questions about food service?
I guess my last question is, I agree with you, Mr. Boone. I would not want to be to anyone who might not need it. So my follow-up to that is, then what do we need to do as a school district to identify the families that aren't making it to the meal distribution sites? And what does the need to do get the meal to the families that do need it? This conversation right now, we've obviously identified some challenges that you are currently experiencing, people taking a program, but we've acknowledged that families, the meals aren't. So a follow-up to that is, what do we need to do to the family that need them? That's not ISD at risk. And how much does it cost? And what is vote on to make that happen?
That's the $64,000 question. And I say the ones that really need it, we're not getting it to them. But how we get that to them is the big question. And I don't have the answer. But do we expose bus drivers and, whoever, there's an idea about administrators taking out Suburbans. You can expose them. Or they've already been exposed, and then they take it to the family that needs it. Because, there's so many variables in this. Because we had volunteers come, principals and whoever. And I told Mr. Cardona, I don't want them out there. They may be bringing the virus to us. I was talking to Mr. Duval on this, and I said, I don't want you there. You may have the virus, and you come in and say hello in my kitchen, and you give it to all of us. Because if I get the virus, there is no program. Melvin knows how to do a lot, but wheeling, it's the getting the commodities and getting the DOD programs and other people bringing in that trust before all this happens. I mean, she knows how to do everything, but it's and then if we get sick in the kitchens, this thing is done. Nobody gets fed. So, and God forbid, one of us gets so bad, and it doesn't matter if you have preconditions. I mean, I saw a young nurse, 25-year-old guy that died. So it's just, there is no right answer. We're all learning on the fly. And, if there's a magic wand to get these meals, one thing somebody told me about drones. That would be an ideal, maybe. But I don't know how to get it out there.
Thank you, Mr. Spoon. Ms. Cristia has a follow-up question, I believe. I don't know if it's on this. Ms. Cristia? Ms. Cristia? Oh, she texted.
Mr. McLaughlin?
I'm here.
Okay.
Mr. Boone?
Yes, ma'am.
I cannot even begin to express my sincere appreciation to you and your staff for all you have done. I know this is very, very hard. I just haven't hear you speak, and I know that you're speaking from very deep in your heart, and caring for your staff and for all the children. I agree with you to the extent of that there are some people that do not need to be receiving those meals. And they are taken away from the individuals that really do need it. My understanding from the last meeting that we had was that we were going to touch base with the city to see whether they could share in the cost, but I guess maybe even the cost is not an issue anymore, it's finding the resources as well. Did we have any follow-up with the city? Because, we were trying to, when there's discussion regarding opening up other sites, in order to reach more individuals, whether they're children of the district or not. It seems to me like they're not. Some of them might not be. Then we need to be including the city in this process as far as the cost and resources. So do we have any information from the city in regards to how they can maybe access resources and maybe incur some of the costs that we're undertaking? Because it doesn't sound, from hearing Mr. Boone speak, it doesn't sound like we're just feeding our kids. It sounds like we're feeding many people that are not in our school system. Is that correct, Mr. Boone?
Yes, ma'am. And Doug is kind of headed up dealing with the city, and I'll let him, if he's there, to kind of chime in. I'll let you know that, we opened CM Allen and Allenwood, and Monday, I talked Friday, Monday, I was told that they will no longer be able to staff it. That was the deal I made with them, and they were like, we're in shelter in place, or whatever the proper term is now, what the city is doing, and they will not be able to staff it. Well, I wasn't real happy. I made a deal. If I send you one employee to each site, keep them open. And
we know why they're not being able to do that.
Well, they said that they're not able to staff it anymore, and I said, well, I'll send you one employee. And so I had to call in two, we're up, and I said I wasn't going to do it, and I've called in two volunteered regular employees to come in, but we're gonna have next week, we're gonna have to send, and our meal counts are gonna go out of the ceiling, because if you're doing 350 lunches at a site, now you're gonna be doing 350 breakfasts.
Right.
So if we're doing 100 lunch breakfast and 350, you're gonna be doing 700 total meals. So we're gonna
I would close this conversation on my part to once again indicate or comment the fact that these are not normal times for us. It is a new undertaking in the sense whether it's bad, it is, and we, as for me, I need to make sure that our leadership is doing and keeping us informed and doing what needs to be done and coming back to us and asking for what needs to be done. If you feel, Mr. Boone, that you can handle more sites, I have no doubt you will convey that to the superintendent and work out what needs to be done. I'm gonna leave it to y'all's capable hands to do that. I am not gonna be here impeding the process and being a side problem. I care much about our students. I have sat on this board for as many years that I have and listened to people's philosophical views, this and that. But it is very caring on my part, and I know who those children are. Nobody needs to tell me. But I also know that I am not equipped to handle and direct a whole district. I am going to depend on you, Mr. Boone, and along with the rest of the administration to tell me what I need to do on this end until such time that I'm on this board. Whatever help I need to provide you in any shape or form. And I'm really very much, once again, sincere in my comments to you, Mr. Boone. I know that you have worked very, very hard and will continue to work and care about your staff. And just like we don't want to put ourselves in danger, I don't want you and your staff to be put in danger. And just like I had a conversation with some people from the city, they don't want their staff in danger either. Nobody wants their staff in danger. There are children that need to be attended to, yes. But realistically, we're just going to have to see what we can do, given the resources that we have and the manpower that we have, and not put anybody in danger. Thank you, Mr. Superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. Castillo. Mr. Aranda has one final question.
Yes, Mr.
Cardona.
In regards to next weeks, ISD has communicated that we are extending our home learning programming some additional time. I heard Mr. Boone's comments and they resonated with me. The need to feed children is not going to decrease days. If anything, it's going to increase. And I agree that health and safety of our staff should be a paramount when it comes to making this decision. I would like the district. I've provided a virtual introduction between you and a representative of the Case County Food Bank. At our next meeting, days, I would like to follow up as to the opportunity we might have of contracting out or supplanting ISD meal service Case County Food to ensure our San Marcos CISD families are fed. Based on the information I've heard from Case County Food Bank, their willingness to partner with the school district, and are confident that their staff and that their volunteers would not be exposing themselves or putting themselves at risk, and if we can contract this thing out or partner with another community organization and pay for them to do this, and employees are no longer put at risk, but they're being paid because the school board has committed to, and I'm interested in that as well. So I individually as a trustee am requesting that you follow up with the food bank based on their retreat to the ISD and see possibly what opportunities we have there to address and serve the families out of that 7,752 phone calls that said that they need access to food and meals.
Yes, we got that. We just have to forward that over to Mr. Barton to make contact, but we did get that information. And we'll follow up. And that's really what needs to happen. I mean, in Houston and Memphis, Tennessee, and Louisiana, which is what Mr. Boone talked about, it's YMCA, it's the food banks that have taken over for the school districts. And I know in the Northeast right now, it's the National Guard and the Red Cross in certain areas. But we'll follow up and get you some information.
And if it, Mr. Boone is, a Zoom video call for them, and if we, work through as essentially a vendor to provide this service, if they're confident they can do that without their staff, then that gets our employee on the front line, and they're at home getting paid. Fine with me as well. Like I said, I am interested and ready to support any proposal and idea, vote in favor of it be allocated to our ISD families having access to meals and food.
Okay, that takes us through the...
Mr. McLaughlin?
Yeah.
Yes, can I follow up on a trustee Halsey had a question about the subs?
Okay.
So just so that way she understands the motion. So we do have two people who are in long-term positions who are both retired, but we cannot pay them because they were not in the original resolution. So if you were to make a resolution, then we could take that up, if I understand it correctly.
I'm not following.
I'll call you tomorrow about it. And then we can
Okay.
follow up on that.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have three budget amendments that are costs arising out of COVID response. And I would entertain a motion to take these up collectively if someone wants to make it.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
A motion by Cantu and Hanson to approve budget amendment 20-16, 20-17, and 20-18. Any further discussion?
I have a question.
Okay, I heard Arredondo, then Halsey, so Mr. Arredondo?
Yes, so we've obviously acknowledged that transportation employees and buses aren't running and we're not paying for fuel for those buses. So why are these instructional costs, COVID-19 instruction, increasing fund balance, decreasing fund balance, decreasing fund balance? Is there not projected cost savings and other accounts that we can move this money over for this? I'm assuming we're not fueling up our buses every day like we're running bus routes.
Well, I think we still paid for the employees, and I'm not sure about the fuel costs. Well, I don't know if we've seen any savings, but we probably won't see that till next month. But
I'm sure it's going to be when we reconcile those unspent monies at the end of the year and drag them back into the fund balance, I'm sure it's going to eclipse what we're passing today, but they have categorical restrictions, so I saw this more as just a temporary patch that allows them to get what they need done.
Okay, that's fine. I just obviously if you make that a lot of land aren't being used, which I'm for suburbans and buses are not going to be used next 2 months. Obviously those moved over, but I just wanted to clarify on that. So yeah, that was
Okay, Ms. Halsey?
Yeah, I was wondering if we are also supplying students with Zoom software.
so Zoom integrates with our Canvas, our learning management system. So we paid, you'll see in the middle is the purchase of Zoom software. So we paid for the extension. So the secondary students who log in through Canvas automatically get now Zoom in there. That makes sense?
So high school students will be convening in-person classes via Zoom?
Zoom, Google Hangouts, whatever the teacher.
What about elementary and middle school kids?
Elementary is mostly controlled through the teacher at this point. Yeah, through Canvas.
And will we be
extending the same thing to pre-K?
For 3 years. So.
Will we be able to extend the same program with our pre-K?
I don't know what the pre-K teachers have in mind for a play-based curriculum. I don't know. They use so I'm being told Class Dojo is like pre-K. That's what they use.
But is I'm sorry. I don't have familiarity with that. Does that mean that Dojo can do person-to-person video conferencing the same way Zoom can?
I don't know. That's a good question.
I mean, I think it would be really great if we could ensure that our youngest learners have the access to that, to some sort of video conferencing. I think that, as the situation wears on, and if we are in a really severe crisis, that kids are going to need also the emotional support and having being able to see that adult face to face, and also for the parent to be able to have another parent, another adult be supporting their child. I think would be terrific.
And I was just informed that the pre-K teachers can also use Google Classroom. So we are a Google district. So Google Classroom can do that, similar functions.
And I know I've seen my own students, my own kids hang out on the Google Classrooms, but can they video conference in the Google Classroom? Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, got a motion in a second. If no further questions, we can vote on the adoption of budget amendment 20-16, 20-17, 20-18. I guess y'all raise your hands. All in favor? If I can see it. Okay. I saw Ms. Halsey. Did you vote in favor or not?
Yes.
All right. That's all of us. That carries 7-0. That takes us into Roman 4, discussion action, modification of school calendar due to school closure caused by COVID-19 and matters related thereto. When we did this agenda, we were scheduled to come back to school, I think on the 6th, and since we did this agenda, the superintendent has extended the distance learning an additional week, so I think we're scheduled presently. Of course, we don't really know, but presently to come back, if possible, on August 13th. Is that correct, Mr. Superintendent?
April.
Yeah, April
14th.
Misspoke. Everyone's panicking.
Theoretically.
Yes. So do you need any further action from the board today with regard to schedule?
No.
Okay. And have you inquired as to whether we could face any potential changes to the school year 2020, 2021 school calendar, and at what point would we need to make those changes?
So I did submit the question that you had asked me is, could we potentially start school earlier because this potentially could come back? And they've talked about no vaccine for about a year and a half, but I have not, as of yet, seen that as a response from TEA to school districts. I send it every time I have my superintendent meeting. I send a chat. This is coming from our board. Can we start school potentially earlier? Can you make all schools be District of Innovation for 2021? But we haven't heard back any kind of information.
Okay. Thanks. So I don't at least personally need a specific motion, but we did agendize it. So if there's any motion or comment from colleagues on school calendar, this would be the time.
I have a question. What would be the purpose of coming back earlier?
If we have to shut down for 6 weeks in the calendar year and we built in additional days, then we wouldn't disrupt instruction and everything else we do. But that's not before us today. I'm not making a motion to start early. No, it was just an inquiry I had, right?
Okay.
Anything else?
Nope.
Okay, that takes us to item 5, discussion and action to approve resolution of Board of Trustees of SMCISD regarding the postponement of the May 2020 election, the uniform election date in November 2020. This is a board-only item. I have a bit of background. This request came up pretty early. And I agree at the last meeting to agendize this for this meeting. Today, there were a few open questions at the time, which I'm going to try to walk through. I also sent that to Juan Cruz, our legal counsel, to provide some feedback to make sure we were getting the correct answers, and that should be provided in your packet. The specific issues that I had him look into were could we potentially have exposure from violating our court order that mandates May elections by moving them? That answer is uncertain still. And then second, I asked him, there was a trustee request about whether we could move to tag along with the runoff election if we were to move this election, and Mr. Cruz's opinion is that we cannot. So that is the two pieces of information, and everything was in your packet regarding to this. So we can have if there's discussion. That's fine. Yes,
I did. Hold on 1 second. I apologize. I'm messing this up. So Mr. Cruz did send me the election code, which is this slide. And then the second part was the effects of holding election on a proper date is the bigger picture.
Right. Yeah. That question was answered to my satisfaction. I don't think I could in good faith support a election date other than May or November. Since the mid-summer date is no longer a uniform election date. I understand. One other piece of information. I did speak to the mayor with regard to the city. And they are struggling with the same thing. They have a special election for replacement of a single council member that they had scheduled to piggyback along with our election time. And they potentially might be moving that, although they have not done so yet. I think it came up as a discussion item only on Tuesday, and it's agendized as an action item in their upcoming meeting. So she had concerns about early voting dates, even if by election date we were out of the shelter-in-place order. So, Ms. Halsey, you have a motion?
Yeah, I'd like to move that we postpone the May 2020 election to the uniform election date in November 2020.
I'll second that motion.
So, a motion by Halsey, second by Cantu. Any further discussion? Ms. Castillo?
I'd just like to make a comment in regards to it. I'm not going to be in support, and I want to make sure that for the record, there is another possibility that we could have explored, and that was getting an order from the government. We have not even discussed that on that. I have never supported having our election in November. I realize the reasons why, I really do. But at the same time, I've always felt that our election is whether in November is going to be completely lost in there. So, given having said that, I just want to make sure that for the record, I make that third. Thank you.
Sure. I saw Ms. Cantu had a comment. And then Ms. Hanson.
In the past, when we've voted on this, I was against having our elections in November. But because this is a one-in-a-lifetime pandemic situation, I don't believe that we should put our voters at risk for voting during a school election. And so I feel very strongly that we move it to protect our voters, protect our citizens, protect all of our school people.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Hanson. You had a question or comment?
Just a comment. I'm not willing to vote on this right now. I'd like to postpone to our next meeting to just give us a little more time to think or find out how this virus is going. So I won't be supporting this motion right at this time.
Okay, and then I think Chair Donovan had questions.
Yeah. Thank you. So it's my understanding, just based on media, how it's been reported, is that the Hays County Elections Office has expressed that they are not going to facilitate an election if we continue to have it on again. So my question would be to the department who would oversee this election. That would be Mr. Barton, business and office. Does your office know the date in which we need to send out mail-in ballots based on election code and the election calendar? ISD will do election today.
I hope I got myself unmuted here. The answer is it is this upcoming week. Those ballots are at the election offices right now, and they're hoping to hear a definitive decision from our school board so they know whether to send it out. They could not support the election, and I have heard similar things from both election offices, but they would still send out those ballots.
Okay. I guess the follow-up to that is systematically move forward with this, or if delay or postpone. We don't know who is essentially going to manage this election, and how much it's going to cost to take it on. Mr. Barton, do we know if the county would rent us the machines, and they rent us the machines? Do we know polling places for the board designated hour early voting and the board's vote on early voting locations. Would that be ISD? Would that be county election? What does that look like to your department as of today if we move forward with this election? The ISD facilitates it on its
I've spoken with both election offices. They've been very helpful to help us navigate the election software and the programming. But you are correct. We would have to staff and man those election offices for those dates.
So do we know that would be? I mean, employees, would that be in your office, be malnutrition employees that we don't want to put at risk for food service? I mean, who is going to man those locations and work those machines for us?
We would have to navigate that in the weeks ahead.
Many weeks until voting?
The dates. I'm sorry, I don't have that date off the top of my mind.
But
it's coming. You're correct. It's coming up.
Thank you.
Salzy?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I wouldn't under normal circumstances be in favor of moving an election. But given the extraordinary health risks that we're already asking people to take, plus the added stress and disruption to the administration to have to undertake the putting together of a fair and thoughtful election process in the midst of everything else that they're dealing with just seems unreasonable to me.
Yeah, at least individually, I'm of a similar mind. If there were any way to keep this, as we've already declared it, I think that'd be the fairest thing for the candidate process. And I regret that I just do not see a way to start early voting just about the time the shelter in place is currently set to expire if there's no extensions. And throwing this on Mr. Spartan's department and indirectly on Mr. Cardona. He's trying to navigate 100 other issues is, to me, irresponsible. So I'm really don't want to vote for this, but I don't see another way. Any comments, questions? Okay. If not, all in favor of Ms. Halsey's motion?
Aye.
Ms. Videoconference, did you vote?
Not yet.
Okay. All opposed? One, two. And Ms. Castilla, I can't see it, but I assume three. Okay, so that motion will carry 4-3. That takes us to.
Can I say something?
Ms. Castilla, sure.
This is a one-time change to November. Not in favor of moving it to November. And I know the concern with the legal situation that we have as far as the redistricting information that we've seen before, that everyone understands that it's just this one time. I do not want it to be ever permanent for November.
Yes, I understood that to be the impact of Ms. Halsey's motion, correct, Ms. Halsey?
Yes, absolutely. Just for this one May 2020 election.
Okay. That's all we have on the agenda.
John?
Motion to adjourn. Ms. Videoconference?
Yes. I just need to make sure that the resolution is corrected. If you'll read over it, I don't have it in front of me, but it says that, something about you need to add another whereas to it, because in our March 9 meeting, we decided to now have an election for District 2, and that needs to be added to the resolution that was printed before. Since this motion passed, I guess that's the resolution you're going to use?
Well, the motion was to postpone. Can y'all hear me? Yeah. The motion was to, as I heard it, was to postpone the May 2020 election to the uniform election date of November 2020.
Okay.
So I'll ensure that the resolution that we ultimately sign is in conformance with what I understand to be what's legally required of us. So we don't get to extend filing deadlines or other things, but I'll consult with Mr. Cruz about your concern.
We voted on March 9 to eliminate District 2, which was my district from this election. So the resolution had mentioned District 1, District 2, and District 3 as being the election that we're going to vote in November. So I think that it needs the resolution needs another whereas saying that we had voted to eliminate District 2 in this particular election. It's going to go to November. I want to make sure that's in there because I am not going to November.
I understand that to be the impact of the motion and that passed was that we're moving the election, which we've already adjusted, so all prior action by the board stand to the uniform election date. And I will check with Mr. Cruz to ensure that the resolution is reflective of that as well. Yeah.
March 9th. Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, we have a motion to adjourn by Hernando. Second by Cantu. All in favor? Can't really see everybody, but I saw enough to be a majority. All right, thank you for your time.
Have a nice evening.
Thank you.